Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future,
Oh.
you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
And the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man who I've ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey folks, welcome to the program. Welcome to the crap. Yep, we're going to talk about the crap today. You're going to want to get your friends and family involved. This is the last installment. The last installment in this series. The first one I did on psychological warfare basically posed the question, can CIA and deep state mind games get you to betray your country? It covered 2 of 6 elements In the second installment, the two elements covered were what's called the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. In this final chapter, part 3, we're going to talk about what's called quiet enforcement and the historical mirage. To let you know a few things before we get started, immediately following this broadcast, I will be jumping over to my locals. We'll have a very candid conversation of what now, right? What now? Now, you'll find that at jovanhuttonpulitzer.locals.com. If you're on Rumble, you're going to see a red oval. Just click that red oval, and you're able to join up on my locals and chime into that broadcast. I want to hear from you. Today's program's brought to you by our fine partners at Goldco. Again, I'll give you a heads up. If you don't make a move, you're going to get caught with your pants down. Not in a good way. All I'm asking you to do is to go to jovanlovesgold.com and request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money from gold and silver. And you better pay attention. If you have a retirement account, retirement savings, IRA, 401k, there's a good chance they're going to lop off. Yeah. Lop off. Okay. Part of your ownership. So make sure you do that and go to the site and check it out. I've got a few things for you, kind of like a housekeeping, time of year. We just went through this election, and you've asked us to bring this back, and we've done it. Now, on the screen, you can see both the URL, it's a short one, or you can just scan the code in front of you. Okay, you can scan the code in front of you and go, we've got these back. This is where you got to protect your hoo-hoo. You've got to protect your family. Part of that is making sure you have food. And imagine, you have the holidays, you have family over, you're cooking an abundance of food, you always throw a lot away. What if you just did your own long-term 20-year food supply on your own? Yes, and people are using these devices, these freeze dryers, to actually make money, turn it into a small business at home. I actually gave the recipes people were doing it with. Something as simple as livers, even little chicken livers and stuff like that, stuff that's dirt cheap. They're freeze drying them. You buy them, 99 cents a pound maybe? They're freeze drying them and selling them for about $4 or $5 or $6 an ounce. Yeah. People are taking care of their own destiny. Anyway, you're going to want to share this program. I'm going to give you time to do it while I just do a little bit of show prep here. I just want to make sure I've got everything in order, right? So, in having everything in order, don't get like really, kind of wound up. It can kind of get you that way. We're going to cover this. And you probably watched what happened in the elections. Just remember, in my opinion, this could have been avoided. I told you. Anyway, let me give you some info here you need to know about while I do a little bit of show prep.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data not fixing 2020 is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now. Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election?
Isn't that interesting? It wants to repeat. Maybe that's how important it is. Okay, folks, make sure you always follow my base channel, which is rumble.com. If you're a YouTuber, you can follow me back. I got a portion of my channel back, right? Now, you woke up. You probably woke up to this, right? The Democrats swept the races, period, over and out, right? The Democrats swept the races. Now, I actually told you this was coming. What you just saw was a precursor to what is going to happen in the midterms. I keep on telling you this. I don't know how to say it any other way. You can go back and audit me on everything. Historically, you know, Barack Obama was the messiah of the Democratic Party. He got 69 million votes when he first ran. Second term, he got 65. Then Hillary got 65. You can kind of quasi believe that Hillary was about as popular as Obama then. And then we got the big finger FU, where Biden got supposedly 81 million votes. Kamala at the close of this last general election, and here we are with another election under our belt, she got 68 million votes, but something nefarious is afoot. Pay attention. The dialogues about the voting machines again. If you're paying attention, you will see they've raised Kamala up to 75 million votes. Here it is in May, 74,749,000 and change. And they've added another like 226,000 to it. Did they leave the stupid ass machines running all this time for a year to do it? Just asking. Just asking. Did all of those precincts and those screwing machines keep on running for a year? They did that, folks, because they're basically trying to reverse justify the crap they did with Biden. So all this is, in getting it in, is basically codifying those votes. Those are really real. Look, they voted again. This number is going to jump. And look how many people today are going to be talking about, it's the machines. Come on, folks. Come on. And so, as I said, this is a 3-part series. Part 1 in psychological warfare, how it works. Multi-part special series I'm doing. Psychological warfare. The first one is, can CIA or deep state mind games get you to betray your country? Will you actually go against your own interest? The second part of it is, as I dove deeper, there's 6 principles, right? 6 principles in this. The 2 principles covered in the second part was called the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. And then in this part, final installment, number 3, we're going to talk about quiet enforcement and the historical mirage. You're going to want to share this. It might hit very hard home. Maybe it's not. Maybe a lot of people just don't care, right? But that's the power of psychological warfare. So I want to share this. This is, and you know this, I'm going to show you psychological warfare right back at you for you to think that it's not psychological warfare. Dang it. They did the pandemic. Psychological warfare, most safe election ever in 2020. Psychological warfare, J6. Folks, remember.
In the dark, mask on, guns drawn, how's that feel? Flashbang mornings, kids screaming, dogs shot in the yard, parade in the park, turn to gulag, now you play the cards. Tear gas, ghosts are joking in the marble halls, your insurrection lie while the real coup crawls, shackle like terrorists for a selfie and a prayer, while the real traitors sip champagne upstairs. Can you hear the echo in the concrete walls? 1,500 heartbeats, we refuse to fall. On the indictment still wet with your blood. Judges on payroll, gavels banging like a flood. Solitary key, just 23 hour black. They want us to crack, but we breathe through the crack. Let us feel like God is smuggled past the gods. Tell mommy I'm innocent, carved in the yard. You burn the flag of freedom on a global stage. We'll torture narrative in a white hot rage. Can you feel the tremor in the prison yard ground? 1,500 souls still making pay. Epps on payroll, still walking free, what a play. Grandpa and grandma zip tied on the floor, while BLM tore cities, yo, beg for more. Pelosi's laptop lost, the footage stays sealed. Every lie you stack is a blade we wield. You built the gallows, we'll hang your decree. From C to B, our face breaks free. Can you taste the iron in the air tonight? 1500 fists ready for the fight. Ready for the fight. Still there, though the world turned its back. 1500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Still though the world turned its back. 1500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Birthday candles blown by a collect call ring. Daddy can't come home is the song they sing. Mom's on food stamps, house is foreclosed in the night. Kids ask the mirror, was daddy wrong or right? You stole first steps, first games, first I love you. Turned family photos into evidence for the crew. Epic bedtime story now ends with the cage. Your scalpel cut deep, we bleed rage. If you hear the children crying daddy's name, can you hear the children crying mommy's name? Can you hear the children crying our names? Can you hear the children? Can you hear the children? Still there, though the world turned its back. 1500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Still there, raise your fist to the sky. 1500 voices will never die. From the cells to cell block C to B, you can hear the battle cry. Still there. Still there.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians? The elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the crap. Look, I know you woke up with a bad attitude, and I still love you. That's okay. A lot of people right now are having an additional wake-up call with a bad attitude. I mean, come on. 25 years ago, New York City was attacked by Muslims, and now they elect one. Not just a Muslim. It's not about being a Muslim. It's a radical Muslim that says violence, crimes are not really real. It's just a construct. Yes, the red apple is now one big red sore, one big red whore. It's true. It has fallen. New York City has fallen. I love New York City. I had an office, Rockefeller Center, downtown Manhattan, years. I spent a lot of time there. I love New York. I think the people of New York are red. I think New York State's red. Well, they're really red now. They're pissed. They elected, or should I say, a Muslim was selected for that city. Now, I told you this was coming. I told you that when these elections start coming down, because nothing was done about fixing 2020. Nothing was done about fixing 2020. And you're waking up across the nation today, you're seeing results where, well, the DEMS took it, hammered it. Do I believe this is legit? No. But the DEMS everywhere hammered it. Did you ever think New York City would elect a mayor that basically hates America? He didn't believe in our Constitution. How can it be sworn in from our Constitution? California's getting in on the action. They're redistricting so they get more seats. It's a battle, folks. And it's about freebies. We're going to raise taxes in Colorado for the school meal program. It is basically about, well, sharing the wealth with everybody, making it equal. Think about that. Now, this is why I am doing this series at this time. It's why it's time to occur, folks, frankly, on this day. Because you're faced with what you just saw, and you're basically collectively going, holy shit. But I've been consistent in this. I told you. Told you how it was going to be done, told you how it worked, told you what the outcome was going to be, and told you it's all to that midterm. I mean, come on, folks. That big F.U. Biden finger, they're making a mockery of our nation. And nobody's paying attention. There's a lot of people reworking things. Well, it's the machines with the ballots, with the drop boxes, with this and with whatever. Okay, but you didn't do doo-doo. And now New York City is going to become New York City. It's just true. And how can there be all these votes that just keep on over a year going on? I had this discussion with President Trump, but President Trump is only as good as the people who really have their eyes open. We had a very candid discussion about how this was done. And I told him, sir, the gun is loaded. You got to imagine this. Most people meet with the president at an event. Few seconds. Most of his meetings are scheduled in minutes. I spent over an hour and a half with him. One side sitting in the desk in front of him, the other side of the desk standing right there next to him, showing him the numbers and telling him, sir, the way they're going to do this is preloaded into the damn gun. The gun's built, but what they did is they packed the ammunition. And that ammunition is the voter rolls and voter registration. He asked me, what would I do? I said, well, actually, I'd get rid of the parties, right? I'd get rid of voter registration. Just show up, have your ID, prove you're a citizen, whatever way we're going to do it, but do it right. And make sure you're voting in your precinct where you actually reside. Go back to a precinct, not vote centers. He says, well, I can't do that quite yet. I got to figure out how to get that done as president. And then over my shoulder, cheap, chirp, 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 long-term system player saying, well, we're told that don't do the voter rolls because you can't clean them up. They'll just stick them right back on. President Trump's here. Devin Nunes right behind me. I turned to see who said it because he's got his staff there to hear what I was saying. And I go, and I turned. I mean, you're President Trump. I literally turned around from President Trump and said, where the hell did you get that? You know me, I kind of tell it like it is. And this person said emphatically, well, that's what we're told. We've been briefed on it. The experts came in and told us we can't really do anything about the voter rolls. Well, here's where it comes from, courtesy Mike Lindell.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines, servers. It has a public-facing internet interface. That's it. That's all I need to know that it's blown. That's a centralized statewide voter roll that was mandated by Help America Vote Act. They have these all over the country. And it's not just that you have a public-facing internet interface to it, but multiple organizations have what's called an API, or an application programming interface. In other words, a machine-to-machine interface into that voter roll. And I'm telling you this because when people say, well, we have to clean up the voter rolls, it's true that they're not following the law. It's true that they're not in good faith maintaining them in accordance with Title 52 that requires that the voter rolls be both secure and accurate. That's a requirement imposed on the secretaries of state who've received the Help America Voting Act and CARES Act funding to maintain those voting systems. What nobody's going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, is you cannot clean those rolls. You're sweeping a dirt floor.
Now, you can imagine, to my dismay, sitting there with President Trump, who I both admire and respect, and me knowing what I know, to hear that. And then you have Mike Lindell, and I've got to set this up for you. And if you don't want to hear it, if you're turning off your ears because I mentioned Mike Lindell and this crap, you're already lost. Freaking go get your commie uniform. You're already lost. You're too weak to fight this game. War, game, same thing. But you can imagine when I heard that. Now imagine sitting with the President of the United States and I hear it behind him, but that person spoke in front of all the governors and senators and lawmakers across the country, telling them that story. And here it is. New York has fallen. Period. New York has fallen. So as we had started, part one was, can the CIA deep state mind games get you to betray your country? Most people say no, but it happened. Part two was, and there's 6 elements. I do 2 in each one. This is the last installment. But part two was the noise doctrine and the hero-villain binary. And this wrap-up right now is called Quiet Enforcement and the Historical Mirage. Maybe you'll see it. Maybe you will finally see it. So let's start with the 5th operational leg of how they do this. And this 5th operational leg, which I'm sorry you're not going to like, but it's just the damn truth. And if you can't handle the truth, you can't do anything to fix it. Now, this is what's called the quiet enforcement. The quiet enforcement. Now, when you see the quiet enforcement and you understand it, the system, the powers that be, must project the penalty. You say, but wait, you're going back. No, what we just lived through in an election. They're still adding votes a year later to Kamala. Do you think the machines kept on running? And by the way, all of these things they injected, they're on the voter rolls. So, tell you what, get rid of the machines. Guess where they still are, damn it? They're going to get a ballot. And so you have to understand this through the lens of history that you've now survived. And if you don't, I'm telling you, midterms come, we're done. President Trump is done. They will lame duck him. They will impeach him. And this time they'll make it stick because they've had more time to prepare. Okay, here's how this works. What they have to do is get you involved in the mechanics of the deception. They've got to get you involved in it. Okay? And if you just did a practical balance test just to kind of check these things out, you would understand it. But people don't analyze much. They don't look. Now, in this psychological warfare that they did, what they did in step 5, because remember, it was all riots first. Do you remember that? Riots, BLM, burning cities, all of this stuff, right? Okay? All of this stuff. What they do is they replace that. They get your fear stoked up, which I covered in the other episodes. They got to use fear. They got to divide. But then they begin where they replace brutal force with a form of softer coercion. Now, what they do is this is all based on social rewards. You'll get it in a minute. And what they do is they institute quiet penalties that teach you self-censorship. Almost everybody was subjected to it. I've had to rebuild my YouTube 3 times, my Facebook 3 times, and just got plundered again. When I talk about replacing the brute force part of it, the burning buildings, the damaging stuff, that's to get America wrapped up in fear and crisis and turmoil. Once they've got that, then they begin a different type of enforcement. It's the quiet enforcement. I know that sounds weird, but it's the quiet enforcement. But it's done through coercion, and it's all based on social rewards. You share stuff, you get a warning. You share stuff, you get banned. You don't want to get banned. You want your voice to be heard. How dare they ban me? You want your voice to be heard. If you're in any position of reach, what happens is your numbers drop through the toilet. Nobody wants to be suppressed. Nobody wants to be shut up. Nobody wants to see their numbers fall off. And because there is that emotional hook of now people try to validate themselves through social media. I must be important. People are looking at my shit. This is where the soft, quiet coercion comes in. Those are the quiet penalties. But what did it teach you? You know what it taught most Americans? And I'm going to say, honestly, you know what it taught 95% of Americans on social media? Don't use certain posts. Don't amplify certain people. Don't talk about certain things. Go back to showing us pictures of your chihuahua in your purse. Yeah, Chihuahua. It's just spelled chihuahua, right? Go around, show us your lunch. I want to see what your flowers look like, damn it. But don't you dare bring this up, because if you bring it up, there are going to be penalties. Now, I want to let you know, it's not just YouTube or Twitter. The GOP did this. See, the GOP only amplifies people that toe the GOP line. They sit back and see who rises to the top, and then they'll offer you millions to be their spokesperson. Well, it's not the GOP's millions, it's yours. Yeah, $400 million raised for election integrity. They filed the lawsuits about what went on, 12 hours before all the statute of limitations passed. Oh, but it looks good. Pay somebody millions of dollars to tell you to bank your vote. You amplify that, you're in. That's the self-censorship part of it. Now, what it creates in the populace, and I'm covering this right now, and I'm giving you this point because most people don't think they can fall victim for this, but damn it, you just watched New York City fall because of this very stuff. That's why I timed it to this day, so you can see it. So it would really, I knew what was coming. I told you what was coming. See, what happens is they trigger in you an internalized surveillance system. You didn't know you had one, but people begin to monitor their own thoughts and language. What happened when you mentioned the Arizona audit or scanned the ballots or any of that? They create this social reward if you don't talk about that or if you criticize it. That's the internal surveillance that gets acted in this fifth step. It's called quiet enforcement. But they also have to project the penalty. Now, what happened is people get fearful. Oh, I'm just being careful. Can't believe anything anymore. I can't believe anyone. It's kind of like told, rebel against the system, Georgia. Don't vote. Don't even use the machines. Vote. Let them know you're just not going to use the machines. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, newsflash, the system didn't give a shit. In fact, they were pleased you didn't vote in protest. Cuts both ways. And so what happens is people are fearful about liking things, sharing things, talking about things. And when you turn on this self-censorship and you begin not to share, not to talk, right? You literally, censor yourself. And you think you're being prudent. I don't know what to believe. The voter rolls, is it the ballot, is it the machines? I keep on hearing it's the machines, and I guess I'm just going to shut up because I don't want any controversy. Well, see, that's all part of this self-censoring that they need. The other part of how they do this is through subtle exclusion. Remember, I told you they teach censorship. They taught you not to share. They taught you not to follow. They taught you to unfollow if it wasn't sharing their truths. If it's not their truths, you remember all this stuff? Oh, they're Jewish. Oh, they're not Christian enough. Oh, they don't say Jesus enough. That was all a con. Why? Because what happens is once you self-surveil and you hide your fear as, well, I'm one of them. I'm just being prudent. They must know better than me. What happens is then it kicks into the next phase, which is called subtle exclusion. It's kind of like loss of invitation. It's kind of like cancel culture. Oh, they said something bad. They said, I support Israel. They said bad. We're going to cancel them. Well, in the election integrity phase of this, same thing happened. It's subtle exclusion. If you speak on that, you're not going to be invited. That talk's not approved. We can't talk about those things. I just had this discussion yesterday with somebody concerned about their elections and what they're being told to promote when the person knows what they're being told to promote is bad. They're asking for advice. I'm trying to give it, and they said, I don't know what I can do because, you know, our election chair or official for the GOP, they just want to get along. They don't want to raise any waves, and that raises waves. Such talk's not approved. That's how it goes down inside the organization. So what happens is they erode solidarity. And I can tell you one thing you know for sure. The right, which we'll just call patriots or conservatives, did not rally in solidarity. Now, when I mean did not rally in solidarity, the system won't allow it. In a properly functioning system, it should only be about truth and provable facts. But the system could not have you focus on the provable facts. So they changed the game plan. And what happened is they made it controversial if you talked about the actual truth of how these things are done. And when they bring that brute force to it in a quiet way, they basically create what's called the shush and shame effect. You can't think that's not true. Everybody knows the Christian thing is to do this or whatever, right? It's called the shush and shame effect. And so what happens to the populace? What happens to the populace as a result of this, okay, is people will choose comfort over conscience. Just like I told you about a GOP person that's mandating a specific type of training that's just flawed, but they don't want to make any waves. They don't want to have to deal with that because that'll make people uncomfortable. So that's not approved. So shame on you for bringing that up. We don't talk about that. So as this step number 5, which is called the quiet enforcement and project the penalty, okay, there's a ton of messaging in it. There's a ton of messaging in it. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. We went through 2020. And quote unquote, for the first time in history, you saw the tally numbers on television change, big swings. People did freaking documentaries. They saw the change on TV. Here it was. And you see the change. They took it away from Trump and they added the same amount to Biden. That was psychological warfare. I told you that from the beginning. Okay? Now, over the course of pushback, because you've been pushing back, trying to learn, trying to understand, okay? You fought, you learned, everybody got pissed off and angry. They did their division thing. But the con was, and I want you to understand this very carefully, all of the rules on the voting machines are voluntary. The Election Assistance Commission and the Help America Vote Act have no enforcement mechanisms. Zero. It's all voluntary. So what they needed you to do is to focus on the machines. See, you think they were revealing facts. There were no facts in it. It's why you found out in a court of law under testimony under oath that there never were any PCAPs. Quote, well, we never had them. Number one, how in the hell do you forgive that? But let me keep on going. You think people were exposing how it happened. No. People were teaching you what you should think about. People were teaching you a psychological narrative. They were teaching you what to say. They were teaching you how to approach it. Now, to make that real, to make it very real, right? What else did they do? Put it in chat. What else did they do? You know what they did? They went from psychological warfare on TV, telling you it was the safest election ever, and you knew it wasn't. That was part of the con. You knew it wasn't. But they came out with their narrative, safest election ever. You knew otherwise. Votes stopped being counted, everything, right? You just freaking know it. The next thing they did is they gave you a mechanism to codify the truth that it was, in fact, the machines. What was that mechanism? Okay? What was that mechanism? They gave you, right, full frontal in your face, a mechanism to go, oh, wow, it must be true, because if it wasn't true, this wouldn't happen. What did the system use as the mechanism to train you? Anybody know what it is? It wasn't muffle the truth tellers. That's part of the psychology. I'm talking about the three big deliveries they needed. You understand the nuances. It's the media, and they muffle the truth tellers and all this other stuff, right? But I want you to understand the mechanisms. This is not as much the nuances that lead to it. You got to have the big paydays. And there were three big paydays that convinced you it, in fact, was the machines. What were the three big paydays that convinced you, holy crap, it was the machines? Well, number one was coming out that it was the machines and showing this change on TV, which is not the vote, never been the vote, ever. That's the first switch they flipped. The second switch they flipped, and you got to understand this, was the triggering of the lawsuits. And I'm not talking lawsuits for, hey, the election was stolen. It was, hey, you defamed us. And now what did you see out of nowhere? You saw erroneous claims suing for $1 billion or $1.3 billion or $1.2 billion. So it sounds scientific. They've done some formula, horseshit. The second part of the psychological warfare was they sold you it was the machines, and then you went, hot damn, it must be the machines because look, they're suing for billions to shut the fuck up. That was the second big mechanism. What was the third big mechanism to convince you it was, in fact, the machines? See, because you didn't think they were victims. You actually thought they're trying to hide the truth. I saw it on TV. See, the way they codified the numbers changing on the screen and came out, it's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines. They needed a validator the validator was, hell, they just sued for billions. They're trying to shut us all up. That was the second phase of the validator. The third phase is you need the codifier. So you got the premise, right? You got the validator, which it must be true because they're suing to shut everybody up. I'm not talking about the mechanisms that enforce this. I'm talking about the real cards on the table. What was the codifier to make you think, well, it really must be the machines? You haven't figured it out yet? They imprisoned Tina. Now, if you think about it, they told you it was the machines. They told you it was the voting company. They told you the votes changed on TV. They told you they had everything. They told you they have the PCAPs. They never had them. They told you it was a mathematical algorithm that did it. Total BS, right? And so the validator was, oh, I got sued and they're trying to take everything. And so you didn't see that as what it was designed to do, to think you, oh, they're trying to hide the truth. And then all of a sudden they swap in their experts, which we talked about in other things, and they discovered something. But yet the system put Tina in prison. And that was what's called the codifier. You're finding out right now that the very people that told you, oh, I verified the PCAPs, I did this, it's real, they swapped the votes. You probably haven't been paying attention, but have you noticed they're scrubbing their archives? Have you noticed their sites have gone down? See, also, when you go back and read the reports, like the Mesa report, show me one changed vote. Simple task. Show me one single illegitimate vote. It's a simple request. See, you were told it showed they swapped the votes. You were told they took votes and it was on TV. Let my people go. And it was all, you were told that. You took and applied over the Mesa report. It must prove votes got changed. You didn't read the son of a bitch. More or less, if you did, you didn't understand it. But in those documents is not one single altered vote. Did you know that? There's not one single altered vote. There is, well, the machine had this, and now it has this, and files are missing. But see, you filled in the blank. When you update anything in the world, it adds and deletes files. But see, you didn't go deep enough because you didn't know to go deep enough. You just, oh, files are missing. Oh, my God. And you filled in the blank. That must be the missing votes. Never was. Never is. Ever. You can't evidence a single one. You have a lot of techno-weenie talk around it. Well, this is missing. But court doesn't work on, well, it must have been votes taken. That's why it never worked. And so the codifier to all of this was Tina getting imprisoned. And the way they do this is the lead up to it so you understand it. They replace their brute force with, they start censoring. Then you tend to self-censor. And after you censor, right, people are watching everything. You know, a mail-in ballot that has not been folded was not voted legally. It's a legal ballot voted illegally. You freaking know that. You know a flat color mail-in official ballot that has not been folded is a legal ballot voted illegally. So those were the three rams they did. And if you ever said it was about the ballots, they basically kind of threatened you out of existence. And so that's where fear is disguised as prudence. And that's why you don't share and you don't like. And that's why and we're not talking about the social part. We're just talking about, quote unquote, in the business of election integrity. Well, that's not approved. We don't talk about it. We don't do it. And what they did is they eroded all solidarity. Inside the very fighting for it, they triggered the shush and shame effect. We don't do that. Because, see, you're worried about the social contract. It's all about freaking acceptance. Why don't you accept we got conned and do something about it? No. You want to hang around with politicians. You want to be in the in-group. I want to be on the committee. I want people to think I'm smart and I know what a 6-degree polynomial is. And that's how it works. See, what happens is this kind of social contract is used as leverage. And what it does is it creates moral cowardice versus courage. You're not going to mention that, damn it, there are black and white printed, copied, freaking ballots in there that they counted as a mail-in vote, and they don't print them in black and white. But see, so what they did is in this social contract, they leveraged that against you. And what it fosters is actually moral cowardice because people are afraid to talk about exactly how it happened. And you lost your courage. And it creates what's called the synthetic pushback or the self-protection. I don't want to be associated with that. Not that stuff. Are you kidding? That's fear disguised as prudence. Now, the fate sealing then comes in. How did they seal the fate? That's the codifier. How did they seal it? Now everybody, even across the GOP, you want to talk about, damn it, these aren't folded ballots. You got to look at them basically kinematically. You got to look at them. You got to look at no, that's not it. But there's no breaks there. It's the machines. The machines do it. Well, what happens? Then your own little precinct people don't like you, and that's not approved, and you want to be approved. The fate sealer for all of this is now across all Republican circles. They just don't talk about it. This is the way it is. We don't talk about it. But what really sealed the fate and made this at a higher, deeper level is if you are a county recorder, the one, right? Who's in charge of this, they're going to warn you, you're going to go to jail. That was all part of it. That was the codifier. That was the validator. And so we don't talk about it. So what happens is this creates what's called generational amnesia. We're going to talk about that in a moment, right? But it creates this very, very weird effect of generational amnesia. Everybody just kind of forgets. Your fate has been sealed. Now, once that fate's been sealed, they have another operation. Now, these kind of all run at the same time to make it happen. And that gets you to the last step that is called the historical mirage. They must rewrite your memory. They physically, even though some of these things, a good example is, you watched 10 cameras for months run 24/7 showing everything going with the audit. Everything. You watched every person. We designed it that way. But what they did is they created a historical mirage. What was the historical mirage that had to be deployed to round out this psychological warfare? What was the historical mirage? And here's the deal. See, if people forget what was, then they can be convinced of what is. And so what they do in this subtle messaging is they basically, again, I told you earlier in earlier stuff, this is where the blurring of the lines come in. And this is where the people, now you're in this, you don't want to be excluded, right? You want to basically be considered a thoughtful person who thought it out. But see, they gave you even what to think. And so we always say, well, that is not what happened, or they didn't really do it, or it wasn't peer reviewed. And I told you it was bullshit. It was a grift. They feared you into prudence and gave you the words to say. Gave you the words to say. They gave you the justification to say, well, I was just being prudent. Because, see, people will choose comfort over conscience. They will use this social leverage to force you into moral cowardice because people just want to be accepted. And so what happens, and this is all on the right, folks. The left did their job. The right did their job. The left did one thing. The left ran their narrative. What was the left's narrative? Safest election ever. All the stuff they're saying's the big lie. That was the left's marching orders. What were the right's marching orders? Get people to forget what actually happened. Yeah. And basically make a malleable narrative. Convince them what is over what they actually know. And then we get to the point, which just happened in New York City. Well, we can't do that. We can't do that. You got to go train this. You got to do this. We need more drop boxes. We got to bank the vote. That's how this works. And it takes all of the operators. You got told there was no Arizona audit, or there was no kinematic artifact detection, or you didn't do a report. That's not what happened. It's a grift. And they go around whispering, and they use their agents. Well, it wasn't peer reviewed. It wasn't this. Then on the right, another subtle things happen. You basically get what's called the altered archives. Now it happens two ways. Arizona, in order not to be exposed on how corrupt it was, worked very hard to not show you the actual evidence. That was one archive alteration. But on the other side, they substituted a curated history while knowing that they could not bring any proof. And then the people that were the provers, all of a sudden, you see their histories vanishing, where they kept on telling you it was the machine, and I verified the PCAPs. I looked at them firsthand. All of that's disappearing. Now, they need it to disappear. They need this vanishing effect because it's all about shifting the meaning. Yes, in fact, there was a Messer report, but it did not evidence or show one single altered vote. It showed things you didn't understand, but even in an update on your phone or your computer, it adds and deletes things. You know that. They convinced you things that were deleted, you filled in the blank because they told you it was vote swapping. You filled in that blank. And the way they convinced you was experts you never heard of, mathematicians, database people, right? And packaged it all up nice, so it was packaged with the experts. Now, the reason they do this, because, it's been like a full freaking generation now. The 2020 was the worst decade of our life, and I mean that literally and hilariously. But in all these 4+ years ensuing, well, it's still happening. Again, were the machines running? Were the machines running all this time to keep on adding votes to Kamala to this day? No. But the very people, like I showed you, the voter rolls don't do it, don't bother. It's like sweeping a dirt floor. I'll give you an example. A few things you never audit because you don't audit the people you believe. But let me give you an example. You got Colonel Sean Smith, can't verify his background. One of the experts that came with Tina. Mark Cook, one of the experts that came with Tina. All this stuff comes out of Colorado, right? Also created in Colorado was this thing called Cause of America. Mike Lindell promotes it. Mike Lindell funded it. We got 500,000 volunteers. That's a total lie. It's an absolute total lie. 500,000 volunteers across America. It's a lie. It's not true. Now what happens is now you kind of got all of these experts, which I told you about in earlier stuff. This is where they created the erosion of solidarity because people choose comfort over conscience. I can show you the rules on the books that all of those laws are very not enforceable, but they'll tell you so much. I know to sign this, what to vote, and you want comfort. You don't want to be caught in the chaos, right? But yet, as you do this, all of it's vanishing, and you cannot even show one single actual changed vote from that crap. Let me ask you a question, just a generic question. In 2022, Carrie Lake was fighting for her life, or 2023 actually, fighting for her life because her election was stolen. On the witness stand, as an expert, they put a public poller. Somebody who does polls and hopes as many people that come out of the election will talk to them. Now, courts are based on you got to give absolute 100% evidence of what actually factually happened. Have you ever thought, why do you put somebody who does public polls on the witness stand? Isn't that the epitome of, well, my opinion says? You ever thought about that? No, you don't think about that. You just think they're an expert, right? Now, in this generational amnesia is created, right? The pollster's great, one of the best. But can you convict on a poll? If you could probably get Donald Trump shot or hung right now for treason. If it was based on a poll, depends on where you do the poll, doesn't it? That's why it's not allowed in court. How the freaky is that your expert witness? Then the very witness that comes on, well, this is what happened, and the judge says, you're an office manager, like in some dental assistant or something. What the hell do you know? And they disqualify her. Where does it pop up? That very person pop up next. 60 freaking minutes. Do you ever think about that? How in the hell does somebody that's supposed to be fighting for elections, when the media tells you it's a big lie, it was the safest election ever, all of a sudden pop up as an election expert and auditor on 60 minutes? That's the validator. Because they want you to think that person's an auditor. That's for the public. The court goes, bullshit, you're out of here. So what happens is uninformed people accept the curated history, and they do not question it. This is what's called generational amnesia. The generational amnesia is in full freaking effect today with the massive ass kicking that the conservatives got in those states where DEMS rolled over them, and it's going to happen again in 2026. But what do you got playing? What's going to be talked about today? At the machines, I know it's the machines. Oh my God, the machines were down. The machines. Tell you what, let me give you an example. Let's say, you ready for this? Let's say nobody was used in this. This was orchestrated and planned. Nobody was used. Nobody was deceived. I'm going to say that again. Nobody was used. Nobody was deceived. Everything was chosen. Everything was run in a playbook. There were no puppets involved. The puppetry, is it the word matriculate? Matriculates down to the local level when people became puppets and repeated the message. But the leaders, all by design. 100%. All by design. Now, when you understand this generational amnesia, you're going to be seeing it today. Trust it today. You know how I can remember, how can we make people think it's the machines? Well, I infiltrated a call. Well, we saw it change on TV. How else can you do it? Well, the companies are suing. They must be trying to protect something. Well, hell, she tried to get into the machine and she went to jail. They must be hiding something. You know another way to convince you it's the machines? Choose. Let's call it New York City. Well, let's call it Pennsylvania. Chester County. Choose one Republican precinct and have all the machines lose power. See, they know they're getting their asses kicked because you're actually waking up and paying attention. If you do pay attention, they know you're not able to audit these so-called experts. So you kind of really know what's going on. They got to bring you back in line. They'll do it with whistleblowers. That was covered in another one. How does somebody, I'm former CIA and I'm going to tell you what really happened and how they stole the country. If you were former CIA and you actually had facts, they fucking kill your ass. I'm former FBI and the election was rigged and I'm on YouTube and I got 3 million followers. Do you think the system allowed that or did the system create that? So how are they going to convince you again it's the machines? Well, let's just kind of flick off one precinct and everybody will start bitching about the machines again. Say, I told you they went off. It's a ploy. No, they took you back to the narrative. See, because people are lazy. They have a fiduciary duty to get those machines back online and work so you can vote. If they tell you, well, you can go over here and vote. That's how they do it. Well, you can go over here. These are down right now, but you can go over here and vote. You fucking made the choice, but you could have made a different choice. I'm staying my ass right here. I pay taxes. Get your shit together and get these things back online. But you don't know that. You just, okay, I'll go over here then. It's all a con. Every bit of it is a con. And how do they reinforce this stuff? The way they reinforce it the entire time, right? The entire time is all of this. Everything you're being told is based on the weight of testimony of unreliable experts or narrators. And what they're doing is they're giving you a contested memory to complicate the search for facts. When you're told, and we're told it was the machines, we got the PCAPs, they went to fucking China, Malaysia, to Ralph's house, to a raccoon's house, to a fucking monkey's house. You ignored almost everybody got a mail-in ballot. You ignored the drop boxes. You ignored the ballot mules. You literally hot swap the truth with stuff you don't even have the expertise to verify. In none of their work did they verify it. You can't audit their work, not a single fucking one of them. You cannot audit their work. It's unauditable. But the things you can audit, that piece of paper They were freaking mail-in ballots. They were not folded. I looked at all these damn ballot mills dropping all this shit off. I looked at all these overprinting ballots. Remember, Maricopa, 2,500,000 change voters, but they printed 4,089,000 ballots. Why would they print that if it was the machines? But see, they teach you not to trust your own freaking eyes because they've got to take you a different way. And how do they take you a different way? They created unreliable experts or narrators to deliver you a contested memory. They knew you were searching for the facts. See, here's the actual formula of how they do it. I'm going to give you the actual formula. It should become very apparent for you. Again, but see, you don't fact check. I'll give you an example. Mike Lindell. You can fact check it. Fact check it your freaking self. Mike Lindell was a trusted figure in America that America believed and loved. Mike Lindell was, in fact, one of the people that got sued and said it was the machines and said it was Dominion and all this other stuff. That story could never, ever be verified. Infiltrated an Antifa call. What would you do? Now, let me ask you a question. You've got millions. You have now been sued for a story. Well, Dominion executive says, don't worry, we got Trump taken care of. He's not going to win. First, let me ask you a question. Would you ask the person who said it, show me the facts? Because see, one person got everybody sued. You understand that, right? One person doing one specific type of interview, a person whose background you can't verify, came out with this story, infiltrated Antifa call, whatever. No proof. That person got inserted through recommendation into every lawsuit. Dominion and all these guys sue all the people. Now, Mike was one of them. Let me ask you a question. If you got sued for $1.3 billion, and you know where the lawsuit came from, it came because you repeated this story that Dominion executive said, don't worry and do it. What would you do? Would you go to the person and say, look, I just got my ass sued? Even if you didn't check. Let's say you didn't check. Listen, I got my ass sued. Can we go over your evidence again? And in that evidence, you would find there was no evidence. You would find there was no facts. You would find there was a Post-it note. Now, in that scenario, what would you do to that person who is the focal point that got you and everybody else sued? Would you kick them to the curb? Just an honest question, answer in chat. You're not choosing sides. You're just answering facts, folks. If, in fact, that person got you sued and you set them down and said, show me this again, would you kick them to the curb? You're damn right you would kick them to the curb. But here's what you didn't audit. Mike didn't kick that person to the curb. Mike made that person his second in command. I want you to think about that just for a moment. The very story that got you and everybody sued, including President Trump, for $1 billion plus, $9 billion in lawsuits, well over $1 billion plus in cash and penalties paid to the voting companies. Mike's one of the ones that got sued based on the story he was told. What did he do? Did he kick that person to the curb? No. Here's what he did. He made that person his second. He gave that person full control over Frank TV. Full control Frank TV. Stay with me. Stay with me. Now, that person told you they lost everything, have nothing to give. I've lost everything. Did they? Mike Lindell, I've spent all my money. I lost everything. I have nothing. Did he? Well, see, that person that got raised to second in command made millions on the public offering, which you now know as Lindell Media. Mike Lindell made millions on the public offering, which you now know as Lindell Media. Another way to show that the trail just doesn't add up is Mike Lindell on Frank TV had about 230 or 40,000 supposed followers. That person who became Mike's second, he too had 230 or 40,000 followers. And he was really only on Lindell TV. When they parted ways, because everybody was raising too much shit and Mike couldn't do it anymore, they parted ways. Well, the one person that had 240,000 followers on Lindell TV, those people didn't go with him. Where'd they go? I've had to rebuild, what's my Twitter, 140,000 or 45,000 or whatever. I've had to rebuild that so many times it's not. But when you saw that person go away, did it follow him to Rumble? No. Did it follow him to Twitter? No. So where'd they go? Well, he had control of the tech. They made it look like there were kind of all these viewers and stuff. And then the one person was supposed to be a conservative journalist bringing you news daily for 15 years. Somehow magically that disappeared too. Why would you walk away from it when everybody's trying to do conservative everything and try to get it fixed? You watch Mike Lindell, how ironic. The system wants to fry Mike Lindell. Am I right or am I wrong? If the bad guys, we'll call it the extreme liberals, if they had a choice of who they want to see fry, who would it be? Tina Peters or Mike Lindell? Put yourself in the liberal extreme seat across the nation. Who would they prefer to see fail? Tina Peters, Miss Colorado? Or Mike Lindell, who's all over TV, who's all over late night TV, who's everywhere and in part of every show? Well, I'm telling you, they would want to see Mike Lindell fall. Because in the scope of what they get, this one's only about Mesa, Arizona, but this one's about the whole country. So they'd want to see Mike Fry, Mr. Pillow Fry, Mr. Pillow cry on his pillow, right? What happened? Well, Tina's trial was televised. Mike's trial, they allowed no cameras or recording equipment. See, Tina's trial was to get the county recorder all across the state 1 month before the 2024 elections to stop down. But Mike, that the system will have really seen publicly fried, that wasn't televised. Why was that? Why was that? And then, because there were people in the courtroom reporting, I was reporting on the words in the courtroom, Mike loses. What'd the story become? We won! See, I told you it was about the machines. We won, we won, we won. And you don't even see that. They needed Tina to be an example for a certain group of people, and they needed to hide from you facts so somebody come out and, even though they lost, even though they were fined, even though the court found against them and it wasn't televised, we won. It was a mandate on the machines. We're getting rid of the machines. Did they win? Did they win? Isn't that interesting? See, why do that? Because they're curating the history. Do you see how much curated history is out there if you know how to audit it? Do you actually think somebody, a top conservative podcaster in the world, leaves something that got no views like Frank TV and then jumps over to Twitter or Rumble, whatever, and all those people just said, the hell with you, I'm not following you. Do you think that would happen? Look how many of you had to attempt to find me all the times they blocked it. And so here's how it works. I'm going to give you the real-time formula. What they do is they actually, in this formula, this is a proven formula, this is how it works. Okay? They use 70%. This is what they use in the formula. They use 70% of things that are recognizably real. Everyday details, verified references, known history, shared experiences that feel authentic. You relate to it. Our elections are bad. Something's wrong with our elections. That's gibberish. That kind of means nothing. We all kind of know that. Did you need anybody to tell you our elections were screwed other than yourself? Put it in chat, truly. Did you need anybody to convince you that our elections are broken after 2020? Anybody? Did you think all our elections were great and fucking wonderful and perfect and whatever? But only in 2020 when you saw this stuff, I'll be damned. Well, see, the only thing that's said out there is our elections are rigged. You know, PCAPs are a part of anything trafficked on the internet. But then you find out there was no anything, right? You find out it wasn't there. How is that? So they use 70% of the formula. This is the formula I give. 70% of the formula are things that resonate with you. We hate the communists. We hate the Marxists. We hate Antifa. Antifa did it. They were in on it. And then the things you can blatantly see, they're drop boxes. Those are all anchors to get you to that 70% recognizability is real. And then here's where the screw comes in. To the formula of the 70% they use, they add in 30% engineered distortion. And they have selective omission. And then they reframe it or they reinterpret it, and that it guides the audience towards the chosen meaning. They forgot to tell you that the Election Assistance Commission and the Help America Vote Act have no enforcement. That's the omission. They framed it, you saw those numbers on TV change. They changed the vote. That's the framing. You watched them do it. It's the machines. They swapped the votes. You know it. You saw it. And they guide you towards where they want you. They give you what to think. They give you what to think. And then this kicks in. And the formula is the same. It's always been the same throughout history. They use these verifiable but really kind of unprovable things. Mesa County report. You can see all this. Look, the files are different. It's you. See, it says audit. They do misinterpretation that guides the audience toward the chosen meaning. Show me one changed vote in the Mesa report. They never did. They showed you the files look differently. You filled in the blank with the approved chosen meaning. You filled in the blank with the approved chosen meaning. Here's kind of what it works. Ready? So what they did is when they hit you with these facts, what they do is they're taking a real statistic, but they're changing why it happened. The elections are broken, but it happened because of the machines. When you saw all the freaking mail-in ballots going out, you saw all the mules going out, you saw all the drop box mess, you had thousands of people across the United States that worked in the elections telling you the paper was wrong. You had the Arizona audit giving you the actual facts. They just changed the meaning so you'd look somewhere else. And so what happens, the science behind this, is by embedding that real image or that phrase or that scientific fact that the audience recognizes or feels important, but is not generally verifiable, they reframe it as an emotional issue. Have you ever noticed that I've told you from the very beginning when you heard me in Georgia talking to the Senate? I'm not emotional about this. This is not about whether Biden won or Trump won. This is about, was the election run properly? I'm not emotional about this. These are just facts. Where'd everybody go? They can't do this anymore. We're going to melt them to prison bars. They can't do this. China, 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 China. It's no different than Russia, 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 Russia. You fell for that too. See, they reframed it emotionally. I can get emotional when I share these things with you, but I always show you the facts. Here it is. Here's the before. Here's the after. Here's how it done. Here's how it all connects. On none of the experts can you do that. The last part they do is the reason this works is because, and this is the most horrible fact there is, but citizens respond less to factual accuracy than to emotional coherence. They just care, does it feel true? I don't want to know how it happened. That's too much for me to understand. Oh, wait, a smart mathematician told me it was a 6-degree polynomial. That sounds right. That feels true. And what they're doing is they're just mirroring back an audience fears or hopes. And they will give emotionally satisfying crap. What'd you find out? You found out we had to fight like hell to get the ballots in Arizona. First time in history. First time in history. Fourth largest county in the United States of America, second largest voting block of people, and the first time in history that 2+ million ballots, a whole general election, had to be audited forensically. Hell, the hanging Chad shit with Bush versus Gore. Right? Was a couple handful, 10,000 ballots. This was 2+ million ballots. But when you have to understand all the mechanics of forensics and everything that comes into play and how it's really done and what you're actually looking for, and here's the before and here's the after, and you have to understand it, that's not how people are wired. Because citizens don't respond to factual accuracy. What they want is emotional coherence. So they mirror the audience fears or hopes. They swamped the vote. We caught them all. We caught them all. We got all the PCAPs, every single county. Lawmakers going to come in. They're going to sit down. They're going to look at it. We're going to show them. They're going to take that data, these PCAPs we have from every single place. Every state's coming in. 5 countries are coming in. They're going to take them back to their own tech people. The tech people are going to look at it and they're going to go, holy smokes, the votes were swapped. That you can understand because it's basically moral outrage, but you don't have to know any facts. You don't have to know any programming. You don't have to know how it really does or doesn't work because you're an emotional being. And so what they offer is an explanation that feels emotionally satisfying. And they use the same bullshit moral language. We're going to protect, we're going to restore, we're going to defend this country. And never, ever give, have, provide, or later audible, actual data. Well, this is the conclusion of this. It started out with part one. I would recommend you go watch them together. Part one, right, was here, is if the CIA or deep state mind games can get you to betray your country. The answer is yes, they did. They did. 5 freaking years later, here we are. New York has fallen. New York City's fallen. Part two, I gave you the noise doctoring and the hero villain, why they play that. And then, of course, on this one, I gave you the rest. Quiet enforcement and historical mirage. And if you think somebody has it and they've got it all, you're going to stand down. Don't worry. President Trump, he's still the president, and he's got all of the military working on this. Don't worry. Trump was still president. Until you talk to the president, he says, I wasn't fucking president. That was all bullshit. No, I saw the signs read between the lines. I know the secret stuff that shouldn't be talked about. And the reason I know the secret shit that shouldn't be talked about is because I'm in with the 10 other million people that can watch and we're told secretly live. I love my country. My moment in time is over. Now, here's what I mean by that. Don't get alarmed by that. God put on me to do a job based with my technology mind. When I saw what was going on, I go, how? This is really easy. They weren't folded. We just checked for the folds. We just checked the colors. We checked the paper, and we'll find it all. And we found it all. I'm not sure it'll ever happen again in history, American history. I'm the only person in American history that has personally looked at over 2 million ballots, 189 million ovals. I think many times they kind of try to counter me when you found out that I was up for the National Technology and Science Medal, or I won a laureate in 2001, all this other stuff. They try to come up with their own thing. Oh, I was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. It's all counterbalancing. This was my moment in time, which I did, to bring this evidence to bear. I won't do another audit. One, I won't do it because the system won't allow it. I won't do it because it's just so costly to do. Right? And I know you're thinking 5 fucking years. Yeah. It's incredibly costly. It cost all of us. But I do think it was the most important work of my life. I think it was the most mental gymnastics I've ever been through to try to figure out what happened and bring it to bear. And I know it's always been about the paper, and I know that big FU with Biden there. That's it. It's an FU. It wasn't real. Told you it wasn't real. But it was proven in the paper, which the system kept away from. And by the way, if you really paid attention and you see Kamala's now over 75 million votes, that's not the machines been running in those same little precinct offices for a freaking year, folks. You have all of this. You know all of this. My time's over. But see, there's been different times in this. This event happened in 2020. Everybody got upset. I came in and said, wow, I think we could probably understand what happened here. we could probably learn how they actually do it. And so I told you all the 200 plus ways that it was doable. We did that over these last 5 years. But in order to get to that, you had to activate. Now you activate it and you taught the system. Here's what you taught the system. Arizona thought they could get away with not doing the audit. But you learned, we're going to learn all kinds of stuff. Arizona tried to play games with me. We'll just do this, we'll do this. And I said, screw you. They were all happy. Hey, he's not going to do it. But then I told him, I said, etc., right? Etc. And I told you they're going to pull a con and you got to get activated. You got to activate it and you made it happen. Right? You made it happen. Then we did the audit, and all of a sudden in this vacuum where we're looking at paper, the system gave us the machine vacuum, PCAPs. And they screamed more, and they aired more, and they promoted more, and it pushed the paper over here. Push the paper over here. Okay? And right now, here's where we are. We're back to you again. Because the rest is going to be left up to you. Now, here's a few things you should know. My team is the only team what we do. I don't partner with other teams. I don't partner with other teams. Because there's nothing to partner on. Do I need a mathematician to do this, or do I need a coder to? I don't do that. It stands on its own because it's forensic evidence. You know, a forensic investigator doesn't go, well, I want 5 fingerprint apprentices that's never done fingerprints before. Let's see, I'll take a raccoon, I'll take a monkey, I'll take a lumberjack. I want them to validate what I don't do that. I don't need that because mine's really just binary. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. It either was right or wrong. It was either right paper or not. It was voted by human or not. It was really mail-in ballot or not. That's it. And so asking me if I participate in other people's reports, I don't. I don't. But you also have to understand, probably most of the learning you know about elections and how they work and how they broken come from us. You just don't see us at the events. Because the system won't allow it. It's the subtle exclusion. You're just not invited to the reindeer games. And yes, my nose is red right now. Did you notice that? And so, no, I'm not part of other people's reports. I'm the people. Huge difference. That's part of what pissed off Maricopa. See, I play to win. I don't play to lose. I play to win. I don't play nice. I don't play to make friends. I don't play to be loved. I don't play to be liked. I play to win for my country, for my children, for my grandchildren, for my legacy, for my future of our nation, right? Period. I don't have an axe to grind. I just have truth. Here it is. And so for me, my role in this is different. And by the way, anybody can send a report to President Trump. You right now can write a letter, send a report of what you think happened to President Trump. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's only about do you move the ball? Now, here's where we are. From the first truths I started telling you, here it is. Here's the facts. Here's what you should know. To the truth way back in December 2020. Don't you dare get your ass to Washington, D.C. I do not care, almost direct quote, I do not care how much you love President Trump, I do, but don't go there. It's a setup. To me, telling you here's what's going to happen when the elections start doing, and they're going to sweep them. And I told you that, and I show you that, and I show you the facts, and you can audit my stuff. So for me, here's what's left for my time. Okay? I only care about one thing when it comes to elections, and we've got to fix them. And in order to fix them, we have to have facts. And those facts have to be made known. And that's the material difference between me as an auditor and everybody else. Doug Logan with Cyber Ninjas, his contract with the Senate said they can decide what they put in. And he's the top level. And then there was Ben Cotton and Cipher. His contract with the Senate said, well, they can decide what they want to use or not. My contract with the Senate said, all of this is proprietary technology. I own the patents on it. Nobody's ever produced documentable results like this. That's mine. The attorneys for the GOP went back screaming, Jovan's an asshole, Jovan this. He won't sign an agreement. You know the agreement I wouldn't sign? That they get to decide if I can ever show the results or not. It was okay, you're going to do it, but you can't show anybody what you did. I didn't go for that. I think it probably said, fuck you. In fact, I know I did. This is for the people. The people deserve honest truth and transparency. This is the way it's done. And I won't participate in that. So just tell me, okay, you're not going to do it. Well, their backs were against the wall because you demanded it. You got on the phones. You demanded it. They had to do it. And then knowing I had it, they just kind of had to play like I didn't exist. They had to convince you it didn't exist. They had to convince you. They had to spend tens of millions of dollars to convince you the Arizona audit was a grift and nothing happened. They paid people to tell you nothing happened. There was no report. There were no kinematics or any of it. They told you that. They invested in that because they knew when it came, it would be damaging. See, the difference is, and I compare it to Epstein, our government has all of the facts regarding Epstein, sex trafficking, who's involved on the list. But what's wrong with that statement? The government. They have it. Now, what's the difference about the Arizona audit? We have it. And they can't stop it. They may work to suppress it, but they can't stop it. See, we have it. That's the material difference. Just like you want prosecutions for Epstein. The system owns the facts, and they get to decide what they release. When it comes to the Arizona audit, what we found, it's the people's information. We just have to keep it current. And so it's for use when President Trump needs it in the suits that are coming up, for use when the Supreme Court has to do it, and now for you're faced with the fact that it'll be part of Trump's presidential library, which was a great recommendation that you guys made. So future researchers in all of American history can recreate it all and see for themselves. Do you know how monumental that is? They can recreate it themselves and prove it. I know this sounds kind of depressing. It's not. The truth is never depressing. I told you, people don't like the actual truth. I'm not going to gaslight you. It just is what it is. And I know you're thinking, I can't take much more. That's the system's plan, and you got to resist it. I know you're thinking, damn it, I can't take much more. I don't want to hear this. No shit. That's what every bit of this is designed to do. Every bit of it. That's what it's designed to do. So in this case, I've been the messenger and I've been the auditor. but I've also been the keeper of the actual facts. That imprimatur is back in your lap again, whether it survives or not. I've played that game for 5 years at an incredible cost, and we need help. We can't let the real facts be known and forever lost. We can't let that happen, folks. We just cannot let that happen. And that's what the system wants. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to do my damnedest not to give the system what it wants. I can keep on pointing all this stuff out, but so many people want to be placated, want to be gaslighted, wanted to be whatever, and they don't want actual facts, and the system knows that. And God bless you. Denise, thank you for that incredible donation. If I was there right now, I'd give you a hug, squeeze your butt, maybe tongue you a little bit, because that was such an important donation. But thank you so very much. Yes, I use off humor. But here's the deal, folks. I was never here to fix this. I was here to show you the truth, so the truth can set you free. And as the people, you demand the fix. And that's how it works. That's just how it works. I am only the messenger, the archaeologist who dug up. Here it is. Here's the facts. Here's the artifacts. Here it is. You can't deny the fucking artifacts. They are what they are, what they are, what they are. It's not my opinion. And I don't need to convince you of some fucking math polynomial 6 degree that has an 80 billion to 1 chance to work. But now it's up to you. I will continue to cover important election information when the psychological warfare stuff going on. I will never do another audit. If the president asked and it was properly funded, and the rules were adhered to, and they really wanted the truth, you bet your ass I would serve my country. But in doing a forensic audit, my time's over. My truths are what they are. My facts are what they are. And there is no opinion in our particular work because it either is or it isn't. I mean, I hope you understand that, right? I hope you understand that. You're going to find a lot about this New York stuff. Here it came. But I'm on the facts. You don't need to stretch the imagination when I tell you in 2020 that they were supposed to have 84.13% of the ballots should have been folded by machine, and every fucking district failed. And then the hand counts, they were supposed to only not exceed 7.53%, and they went way over. And the ones that were supposed to have no folds, which were election day, and they went super over. It's because of what really didn't exist in number 1, which they claimed it was, they made up in number 2 and 3. This is the epitome of widespread. There you are. These are facts. Let me ask you a question. Do you need a fucking math or coding degree to understand this? It either was what they said or it wasn't what they said. Do you fucking need a degree to understand that? And the answer is you do not. Do you understand, like in Maricopa, Election Day basically runs for a month, and here's what they did for a month? So why a month after the fucking election did they insert in over 100,000 ballots? Do you need a polynomial math scientist? The only thing I'm certified in is I'm a super advanced master level 33rd degree 50 Shades of Grey certified trainer and instructor. But here you go. Do you need a math degree to understand this? Do you need a coding degree to actually see why the fuck did you run it in the machines a month late? Do you need a degree for that? Do you need a degree to basically say all these ballots, supposed to be 2 million of them, they were out of whack. Oh shit, look at these they ran in a month later. Oh shit, the same fucking ones, they manipulate them. You can see it, everything was cut off. Do you need a degree to see that? Do I need to convince you of some super secret handshake, super fucking soft wiggle, wear my cross, here it is, formula fucking for it? No. You can see it with your own eyes. And so I just want to let you know, this has been the most incredible pushing of my abilities by God ever. This has been a bless and a curse at exactly the same time. I pushed my mind to the limits to try to understand this. And yes, I'm still going to locals. I pushed my mind to the limits to try to understand this. But I'm not going to give you any hopium in the way of you think I'm coming to your state or town or precinct to do an audit. That is not what I do. I'm not going to disillusion you to have you think that it's just some little machine code, you run it in. It's not. Everything has to be programmed to the exact ballot. And please remember, all of the experts went around to the states and says, don't do a full forensic audit. It's a grift. Why don't you canvass first? And everybody signed NDAs and you can't talk about what you found. Isn't that interesting? And then the place we got the ballot, here we are 5 fucking years later. I was 2 weeks away from doing the exact same thing in Georgia, and the GOP killed it. And to this day, you see DC making machinations and stuff. We want those ballots. We want those ballots. And you see these letters. I don't think they exist, but that was all by design. And even if they do exist, you won't see me doing a kinematic artifact detection, because the GOP won't allow it and they won't do it properly. And they're going to try to play games, and they're going to try to insert, you can mark it down right now, if in fact the ballots appear in Georgia, you're going to see a whole new cast of characters. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this. They're going to try to convince you they're doing it right. But it ain't what we do. And so what is my role now? I got to keep on evangelizing and sharing the truth and make sure you understand how to see through this stuff. And that's why you've seen the subtle move. I've got to teach you how this psychological warfare and stuff happens. You don't have an advanced degree in that. I will always give you the truth. My mission now is to protect this. I've got to protect this historic archive at all costs. It's got to be protected. And it will be my honor to not only make sure that's available for every single lawsuit and right and the Supreme Court, but to also protect it to history, where people in the future can duplicate, which they have been from the beginning, been able to duplicate everything we ever did. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to know the secret handshake. You don't have to know the secret polynomial. We'll hand it over to the Trump Library, and future historians or forensic things can duplicate it themselves. Because it is what it is. This is not me bowing out. This is me telling you. They just took down New York City. And I told you it was coming. And they're pulling this con, getting ready for the midterms. They're proving it with their own actions. We've got to defend this country, and it takes truth to do it, not hopium. I love every one of you. Please share this program. I'm headed to locals next. I'll give you a chance to ask me any questions on this. I'll be very candid, even though you think I'm candid now. I get a lot more candid. If you're on locals or if you're on Rumble, hit that red oval. I'm headed over there now. You'll see a link pop up. This is not over. It is not done. This is just, once again, up to you. Love you.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.